The water ran cold and dark beneath the bridge. 17-year-old Jamie Holloway lay crumpled on the muddy riverbank, his body screaming with pain, his vision swimming in and out of focus. Blood trickled from his split lip, mixing with the tears he refused to shed. They'd left him here. The boys from school, the ones who'd cornered him after the game, who'd seen him looking at Marcus Cooper a little too long, who decided that someone like him didn't belong in their town. Faggot, they'd spat before the first punch landed. Jamie tried to move, but his ribs protested with sharp, stabbing pain. His phone was gone, smashed on the pavement somewhere near the school parking lot. The November wind cut through his torn jacket like knives. Above him, stars flickered through bare tree branches, indifferent and cold. His left eye was swollen shut already, and he could taste copper every time he swallowed. This was how it ended, he thought, alone, broken. Exactly like his father had predicted when Jamie had finally found the courage to come out 6 months ago. "You'll regret this," his dad had said, cold and final. "Don't come crying to me when the world chews you up and spits you out. You made your choice, live with it." His mother had said nothing, just looked away, tears in her eyes but no words of comfort. His older brother had laughed, actually laughed, and said, "I always knew you were weak." They'd given him 2 weeks to pack his things. 2 weeks before his own family threw him away like garbage. Jamie closed his eyes against the memory. The physical pain was almost a relief compared to the emotional wounds that never seemed to heal. He'd been staying with his friend Sarah for the past 2 months, sleeping on her couch, trying to finish his senior year despite everything falling apart. But Sarah's parents were getting suspicious. They kept asking questions, making comments about how long he was planning to stay. Jamie knew his time there was running out too. Tonight he'd walked to the football game alone because Sarah had been sick. He'd kept his head down, stayed in the shadows, tried to be invisible. But invisibility was impossible when you were the only out gay kid in a small Texas town that believed different was the same as wrong. They'd waited until the parking lot was nearly empty. 5 of them. Tyler Brooks, the quarterback everyone worshipped. His friends, Jackson, Cole, Derek, and someone Jamie didn't recognize. They'd surrounded him by his rusted Honda Civic. "Heard you were looking at my boyfriend during the game," Tyler had said, his voice low and dangerous. "I wasn't," Jamie had started. The first punch had cut him off. After that, it was a blur of pain and terror. They'd beaten him methodically, taking turns, laughing the whole time. When he tried to crawl away, they dragged him to Tyler's truck. They'd driven him here to River Road, to the bridge where teenagers came to drink and make out, and they'd thrown him down the embankment like he was nothing. "If we see you looking at any of us again," Tyler had called down, "next time we won't stop." Then they were gone. Jamie lay in the mud, listening to the river, wondering if he should just let himself slide into the water. Would anyone even notice if he disappeared? Sarah would. She was a good friend, but Sarah couldn't save him from this. Nobody could. The cold was seeping into his bones now. His teeth chattered, his whole body shook. He was going into shock, some distant part of his mind recognized. If he stayed here much longer, hypothermia would finish what Tyler and his friends had started. Jamie tried one more time to sit up. Agony lanced through his ribs, at least 2 broken, maybe more. He collapsed back into the mud with a whimper. Then he heard it, the distant rumble of an engine. Headlights swept across the bridge above him. For a moment hope flared in his chest, then the truck started to pass. No, Jamie thought desperately, "Please, please see me." He tried to call out, but his voice came out as barely a whisper. The truck kept going. The red taillights were disappearing into the darkness. Jamie closed his eyes, fresh tears sliding down his bruised cheeks, and then the brake lights flared, the truck stopped, reversed, the engine cut off, a door opened. Footsteps, running footsteps, pounded across the bridge. "Oh God," a man's voice said. "Oh God, no." The footsteps came down the embankment, fast but careful. Jamie forced his one good eye open. A man dropped to his knees beside him, 30-something, dark hair, strong build, face etched with concern and horror. "Hey," the man said softly, his voice rough with emotion. "Can you hear me?" Jamie managed the smallest nod. Okay, that's good." The man's hands hovered over him, clearly wanting to help but afraid to cause more damage. "My name is Marcus Reed. I'm going to get you out of here, all right? I'm going to take care of you." "Why?" Jamie whispered through split lips. Marcus's expression crumpled. "Because you're hurt, because you shouldn't be alone, because," his voice broke, "because I know what this is, I know what happened to you, and I'm not going to leave you here." Something in his tone, the absolute certainty, the deep understanding, cut through Jamie's shock. This man knew, somehow he knew exactly what had happened. "I'm going to lift you now," Marcus said gently. "It's going to hurt, I'm sorry, but I need to get you warm and safe. Can you try to stay conscious for me?" Jamie tried to nod again. Marcus slid his arms beneath Jamie's shoulders and knees with infinite care, lifting him as though he weighed nothing. Jamie bit back a scream as his broken ribs shifted. I know," Marcus murmured. "I've got you, you're safe now, I promise you're safe." He carried Jamie up the embankment, no easy feat given the muddy slope, and settled him gently in the passenger seat of a massive F-250 truck. The cab was warm, the heat still running. Marcus grabbed a thick work jacket from the back seat and wrapped it around Jamie's trembling body. Hospital, Jamie managed to ask, panic rising. If they went to hospital, there would be questions, police reports. His father would find out, Tyler would find out, he'd told. My place, Marcus said firmly, reading the fear in Jamie's eye. I've got medical supplies, used to be a paramedic before I bought the farm. I can take care of you there and we'll figure out the rest later. Is that okay? Jamie sagged with relief. Okay, he breathed. Marcus climbed into the driver's seat and pulled back onto the road, driving carefully but quickly. He kept glancing over at Jamie, his jaw tight with barely controlled anger. Who did this to you? He asked quietly. Does it matter? Yes, the word was steel. It matters. Jamie was silent, watching the dark landscape roll past through his one functioning eye. They passed the high school, still lit up from the game. They passed the diner where everyone hung out on Friday nights. They passed the church with its judgmental sign out front. Love the sinner, hate the sin. Finally, they turned down a long private road. The headlights illuminated fields stretching into darkness on both sides. And then, rising from the landscape like something from a dream, a sprawling ranch house appeared. Warm light glowed from every window. It looked like home, a home Jamie had never had. Marcus parked close to the front door and came around to help Jamie out. This time Jamie could manage to stand with Marcus's arm around his waist, though every step sent fresh waves of pain through his body. Inside, the house was everything Jamie had imagined and nothing like he'd expected. Exposed wooden beams crossed vaulted ceilings. A massive stone fireplace dominated one wall, fire crackling behind glass doors. Leather furniture mixed with handmade quilts. Bookshelves lined with everything from agricultural manuals to classic novels. Photographs on the walls, landscapes, horses, candid shots of ranch life. It was beautiful and lived in and real. Guest room is this way, Marcus said, guiding him down a hallway. The bedroom was simple but comfortable, a large bed with a thick comforter, matching nightstands, a reading chair by the window. Marcus helped Jamie sit on the edge of the bed, then disappeared. He returned moments later with armfuls of supplies. A first aid kit that looked professional grade, clean towels, a bowl of warm water, antiseptic, bandages, pain medication. He pulled a chair close to the bed and sat down, meeting Jamie's eyes. I need to assess your injuries, he said gently. That means I'll need to see your ribs, check for internal bleeding. I'll be as professional as possible, but I need you to tell me if anything I do makes you uncomfortable. Your consent matters, even in an emergency. Understood. The fact that he was asking, that he was giving Jamie agency when he felt like he had none, made something crack in Jamie's chest. He nodded. Can you tell me your name? Marcus asked as he began carefully cleaning the blood from Jamie's face. Jamie Holloway. How old are you, Jamie? 17, 18 in December. Marcus's expression darkened, but his touch remained gentle. Tell me where it hurts most. My ribs, left side. Marcus helped Jamie carefully remove his torn shirt, wincing at the bruises already blooming across pale skin. He probed gently, his fingers skilled and sure. At least 2 ribs cracked, he said finally. Possibly 3. No signs of internal bleeding, which is good. You'll need to rest, keep them wrapped, take it easy for several weeks. He worked methodically, cleaning cuts, applying antiseptic, wrapping Jamie's ribs with practiced efficiency. His touch was clinical but kind, and he kept up a gentle stream of conversation, nothing important, just words to keep Jamie grounded and present. I'm going to give you some pain medication, Marcus said when he'd finished. Strong stuff so it'll make you drowsy, and then I think you need to sleep. Your body needs rest to start healing. He handed Jamie 2 pills and a glass of water. Jamie swallowed them gratefully. There are clean clothes in the dresser, Marcus continued, standing. Bathroom is through that door. Take your time. When you're ready, try to rest. I'll be just down the hall if you need anything. He started to leave, but Jamie's voice stopped him. Why are you doing this? Marcus turned back, and in the warm light of the bedside lamp, Jamie could see the shadows in his eyes. Old pain, old recognition. Because 15 years ago I was beaten outside a bar in Austin, Marcus said quietly. Left for dead in an alley because I was gay. I ended up in the hospital for 2 weeks. Collapsed lung, broken jaw, internal bleeding. My family disowned me while I was still in my hospital bed. Jamie's breath caught. When I got out I had nothing, no money, no home, no one who gave a damn. Marcus's voice was steady, but Jamie could hear the weight of memory. I ended up sleeping in a barn on the outskirts of town. The owner found me and could have called the cops, had me arrested for trespassing. Instead, he gave me a job, taught me everything about ranching and farming. Eventually sold me 50 acres at a price I could actually afford. What happened to him? Thomas Whitfield died 5 years ago. Marcus's eyes glistened. Cancer. Before he passed, he made me promise something, that I'd pay forward what he'd done for me, that I'd help someone the way he helped me. He met Jamie's gaze directly. So that's what tonight is, me keeping a promise to a man who saved my life, and me making sure you have a chance I almost didn't get. Silence stretched between them, heavy with shared understanding. I don't know what to say, Jamie whispered. You don't have to say anything. Marcus smiled, small and sad. Just rest, we'll figure out everything else tomorrow. After he left, Jamie sat alone in the beautiful guest room, Marcus's words echoing in his mind. This man, this stranger, had survived the same horror Jamie had just experienced. And he'd built this life anyway. This beautiful, successful, peaceful life. For the first time since the beating, Jamie felt something other than despair. He felt hope. Jamie woke to sunlight streaming through unfamiliar windows. For one blissful moment he forgot where he was, then he tried to sit up. Pain exploded through his ribs, immediate and all-consuming. Everything came rushing back, the beating, the river, Marcus. He lay still, breathing carefully, taking inventory of his body. His face was swollen and tender. His ribs throbbed with every breath. His knuckles were scraped raw where he'd tried to fight back. But he was alive, and he was safe. The smell of coffee and something savory drifted from somewhere in the house. Jamie's stomach rumbled, reminding him he hadn't eaten since lunch yesterday. He managed to sit up slowly, gritting his teeth against the pain. The clean clothes Marcus had mentioned were folded neatly on the dresser: soft flannel shirt, worn jeans, thick socks. They were too big, but they were warm and clean and smelled like laundry detergent and something else, something masculine and comforting. Jamie changed carefully, every movement and exercise and patience. The bathroom mirror showed him the damage. His left eye was swollen nearly shut, ringed with deep purple bruises. His lip was split and scabbed. A gash above his eyebrow had been carefully butterfly bandaged. He looked like he'd been hit by a truck, which in a way he had been. Jamie splashed water on his face, wincing at the sting, and ventured out. The house looked even more impressive in daylight. Large windows offered views of rolling fields and distant tree lines. The morning sun painted everything gold. He found Marcus in the kitchen, standing at a massive 8-burner stove, spatula in hand. He wore jeans and a faded t-shirt that showed off broad shoulders and muscled arms. His dark hair was slightly mussed, and he had reading glasses perched on his nose as he consulted a recipe on his phone. The domestic scene was so normal, so peaceful, it made Jamie's chest ache. "Good morning," Marcus said, glancing up with a gentle smile. "How do you feel?" "Like I got beaten up and left by a river," Jamie said honestly. Marcus's smile turned sad. "Fair enough, sit. Breakfast is almost ready." "How do you take your coffee?" I don't really drink coffee." "Hot chocolate?" "Sure, thanks." Jamie sat at the kitchen island, watching as Marcus moved around the kitchen with easy confidence. He plated up eggs, bacon, hash browns, and fresh fruit, setting a heaping portion in front of Jamie. "Eat," Marcus instructed gently. "Your body needs fuel to heal." The hot chocolate appeared moments later, topped with whipped cream. Jamie ate slowly, his jaw protesting the movement, but the food was delicious and his hunger won out. Marcus sat across from him with his own plate and coffee, eating quietly. He didn't push for conversation, didn't demand explanations. He just let Jamie eat in peace. Finally, Jamie set down his fork and looked up. "What happens now?" Marcus met his gaze steadily. "That depends on several things. First, and I want you to be completely honest with me, do you have anywhere safe to go?" "Family, friends," Jamie's throat tightened. "I was staying with a friend, Sarah, but her parents are getting tired of me being there, and my family." He couldn't finish the sentence. "They kicked you out," Marcus said softly. It wasn't a question. Jamie nodded, not trusting his voice. "Okay," Marcus leaned forward, his expression serious but kind. "Here's what I'm thinking. You can stay here at the farm for as long as you need. I have 5 bedrooms and it's just me. You'd have your own space, your own privacy." "I can't just—" "Let me finish," Marcus interrupted gently. "I could use help around the farm. The ranch hands I employ are good, but I'm always looking for someone willing to learn. You'd work for me, nothing too strenuous while you heal, but there's always something that needs doing. I'd pay you a fair wage, provide room and board, and help you finish your senior year." Jamie stared at him, unable to process what he was hearing. "Why would you do this? You don't even know me." Marcus was quiet for a moment, his eyes distant. "When Thomas found me in his barn, I asked him the same thing," he said finally. "He told me that kindness doesn't need a reason beyond someone needing it." He focused back on Jamie. "You need help, I can provide it, and honestly, the farm is successful, but it's lonely, having someone else around. It would be nice. What about my school, my things? There's a good high school 2 towns over, Ridgeway High, less judgmental than Clearwater. I have some connections on the school board. We could get you enrolled there, get your transcripts transferred. As for your things, where are they?" "Most of my stuff is still at my dad's house. He said I could come get it, but—" Jamie's voice cracked. "I don't want to see him. I can't face him again." "You don't have to," Marcus said firmly. "Give me the address. I'll go get your things. Your father won't refuse me." There was something in his tone, a quiet authority, a certainty that made Jamie believe him. "Are you sure about this?" Jamie asked. "I'm a stranger, I'm trouble. Those guys who beat me up, they might come looking. Let them try." Marcus's voice went cold and hard. "I own 3,000 acres in this county. I employ 47 people. I contribute significantly to the local economy. and I've earned enough respect that people think twice before crossing me. His expression softened. You're not trouble, Jamie. You're a kid who deserves a chance, that's all. Tears burned Jamie's eyes. He'd spent so long feeling like a burden, like a problem, like something wrong that needed to be fixed or hidden. And here was this man, this successful, confident, kind man, offering him everything he'd lost: a home, safety, a future. I'll work hard, Jamie promised, his voice thick with emotion. I'll earn my keep. I won't be a burden. You could never be a burden. Marcus reached across the counter, stopping just short of touching Jamie's hand. You deserve this, Jamie. You deserve to be safe, to heal, to have a chance at happiness. Jamie nodded, not trusting himself to speak. Finish your breakfast, Marcus said, lightening his tone. Then I'll show you around the farm. If you're going to work here, you should know what you're getting into. Reed Family Farms was vast and beautiful in a way Jamie had never experienced. Marcus drove him around in the F-250, pointing out the different sections of the property. We've got 3,000 acres total, Marcus explained as they drove along a well-maintained dirt road. 1,500 in crops, mostly wheat, corn, and sorghum. Another 1,000 in pasture for the cattle. The rest is divided between the main compound, equipment storage, and natural conservation areas. They passed field after field, all perfectly maintained. The November landscape was mostly brown and dormant, but Jamie could imagine how it would look in spring, green and growing, full of life. We run about 400 head of cattle, Marcus continued. Black Angus mostly, high-quality beef. We sell to restaurants and specialty butchers across 3 states. They stopped at a massive equipment barn where tractors and harvesters sat in neat rows. Everything was clean, organized, professional. But my real passion is the horses, Marcus said, and his whole face lit up. They drove to a different section of the property where pristine white fences enclosed several paddocks. A large barn stood at the center, painted red with white trim, looking like something from a movie. Marcus parked and led Jamie inside. The barn was warm and smelled like hay and horses and leather. Soft wickering greeted them. Jamie counted at least 20 stalls, each housing a beautiful horse. I breed and train quarter horses, Marcus explained, stopping at the first stall where a gorgeous paint mare stuck her head out. This is Daisy. She's one of my foundation mares, excellent bloodline, calm temperament. He stroked Daisy's nose affectionately and the mare leaned into his touch. Go ahead, Marcus encouraged. She won't bite. Jamie reached out tentatively. Daisy's nose was velvet soft against his palm, warm and alive. She whuffed gently, her dark eyes curious and kind. Jamie found himself smiling, actually smiling for the first time since before the beating. She likes you, Marcus observed. Horses are good judges of character. They walked down the row of stalls, Marcus introducing each horse by name and personality. There was Thunder, a massive black stallion with an attitude. Cinnamon, a gentle chestnut mare perfect for beginners. Jasper, a young gelding Marcus was training for barrel racing. Scout, an older horse Marcus had rescued from a neglectful owner. Each horse had a story, each one was clearly loved and well cared for. Have you ever ridden? Marcus asked. Never, we couldn't afford it. Well, that's something we can fix. Marcus leaned against a stall door, studying Jamie with those warm, whiskey-colored eyes. Riding is good for the soul, therapeutic. And the horses need exercise, so it would actually be helping me out. He showed Jamie the tack room, the feed storage, the grooming supplies, everything organized with the same careful attention to detail. My head ranch hand is Luis Cortez, Marcus said as they left the barn. He's been with me for 8 years, knows everything about running this place. Good man, fair boss to the other workers. You'll meet him and the rest of the crew tomorrow. They drove past worker housing, small but well-maintained homes where the full-time ranch hands lived with their families. Past a large greenhouse where Marcus grew vegetables year-round. Past grain silos and cattle pens and equipment sheds. Everything was efficient, organized, successful. You built all this? Jamie asked, awed. Built, bought, borrowed, and worked my ass off for 12 years, Marcus said with a small smile. Started with 50 acres and a dream, added to it piece by piece. It's smart investments, took risks that paid off. He paused. After Thomas died, he left me everything, another 500 acres, equipment, his breeding stock, said I was the son he never had. There was deep emotion in his voice, old grief mixed with gratitude. He sounds like he was an amazing person. He was. Marcus was quiet for a moment. He taught me that success isn't just about making money. It's about building something sustainable, something good, treating your workers fairly, contributing to your community, leaving the land better than you found it. They returned to the main house as the sun reached its peak overhead. Jamie's ribs ached from the movement and he was more tired than he wanted to admit. Marcus noticed immediately. You should rest, he said. Your body is still healing. Take it easy this afternoon. Tomorrow we'll start you on some light work, nothing strenuous, just getting familiar with the routines. Back in the guest room, Jamie lay on the bed and stared at the ceiling. His mind was spinning. 24 hours ago he'd been dying by a river, convinced his life was over. Now he was in a beautiful home on a successful farm, offered a job and a future by a man who seemed too good to be true. Part of him waited for the other shoe to drop, for Marcus to reveal some ulterior motive, some hidden cruelty. But the larger part, the part that had seen genuine kindness in Marcus's eyes, had heard the truth in his voice, wanted desperately to believe this was real. That he'd finally found somewhere safe. The first week passed in a careful dance of healing and adjustment. True to his word, Marcus drove to Jamie's father's house and retrieved his belongings. He returned with boxes and garbage bags full of Jamie's clothes, books, laptop, and the few personal items he'd accumulated in 17 years. "Your father wasn't happy," Marcus said, setting the boxes in Jamie's room. "But he didn't argue when I explained the situation." "What did you tell him?" "The truth, that you've been assaulted and left injured, that I was providing you with a safe place to recover and finish school, and that if he had any objections he could take them up with my lawyer." Marcus's expression was grim. He didn't have objections. Jamie unpacked slowly, making the guest room his own. Posters went up on the walls, bands he liked, places he wanted to visit someday. Books lined the shelves. His laptop found a home on the desk. For the first time in months, he had a space that was truly his. Marcus enrolled him at Ridgeway High, smoothing over the paperwork with impressive efficiency. The school was 40 minutes away, but Marcus drove him there every morning before heading off to manage the farm and picked him up every afternoon. Ridgeway was different from Clearwater High. Bigger, more diverse, less suffocating. Jamie kept his head down at first, wary of drawing attention, but the students here were different too. Nobody seemed to care that he was quiet and kept to himself. Nobody asked invasive questions about where he'd come from or why he'd transferred mid-semester. In his second week, a girl with purple streaks in her hair sat down next to him at lunch. "You're the new kid, right, Jamie?" He nodded cautiously. "I'm Zoe. Welcome to Ridgeway, where nobody gives a shit about anyone else's business, and that's exactly how we like it." She grinned. "You look like you could use some friends. My crew eats lunch here every day. You're welcome to join us if you want." And just like that, Jamie had a lunch table. Zoe and her friends, Marcus, a different Marcus, which caused some amusing confusion. Chen and River were art kids, theater kids, band kids. They were loud and weird and unapologetically themselves, and they didn't care that Jamie was gay. In fact, when it came up naturally in conversation a few days later, River just said, "Cool, me too," and kept eating his sandwich. It was so casual, so normal, that Jamie almost cried. At the farm, he fell into routines. Every morning before school, he helped Marcus feed the horses. Every afternoon, he did whatever light work Marcus assigned, cleaning tack, organizing the feed room, helping with paperwork. Marcus was careful not to push him physically while his ribs healed, but there was always something useful he could do. The ranch hands accepted him with surprising ease. Louis, the head hand, was a man in his 50s with weathered skin and kind eyes. "Boss says you're going to be working with us," Louis said on Jamie's first official day. "Welcome aboard. You work hard, we'll get along fine." The other workers, a mix of full-time employees and part-timers, ranged from college-aged kids to men in their 60s. They taught Jamie the basics of farm life without judgment or impatience: how to properly stack hay bales, how to check fence lines for damage, how to recognize when an animal was sick or injured, how to drive the utility vehicles used around the property. Jamie absorbed it all eagerly. For the first time in his life, he felt useful. He felt like he belonged somewhere. And Marcus was a constant, steady presence. He never pushed Jamie to talk about the beating or his family. He never made Jamie feel like a charity case or a burden. He treated Jamie like an equal, someone whose opinions mattered, whose contributions were valued. They fell into easy companionship. Coffee together at dawn, both of them still half asleep, the kitchen warm and quiet. Dinner together in the evenings, talking about their days. Sometimes they watched movies. Marcus had a surprisingly extensive collection, everything from classic westerns to indie dramas. Sometimes they sat in comfortable silence, Marcus reading agricultural reports while Jamie did homework at the other end of the couch. It was domestic and peaceful, and everything Jamie had never known he wanted. And slowly, carefully, Jamie began to notice things. The way Marcus's eyes crinkled when he smiled. The way his hands moved with such confidence and skill. The way he talked to his horses with genuine affection. The way he looked in the morning, hair messy and glasses on, focused on his coffee. The way his voice dropped when he was being serious about something important. Jamie tried not to notice. Marcus had saved him, given him a home, a job, a future. Developing feelings would be wrong, would be a betrayal of that generosity. So he pushed the attraction down deep and tried to focus on healing, on school, on building this new life. But attraction has its own logic, its own timeline, and Jamie was losing the battle against his own heart. Thanksgiving arrived with the first real cold snap. Marcus invited Louis and his family to join them for dinner, his wife Maria, their 3 kids, and Maria's mother. "You don't have to do anything fancy," Louis had protested. "Too late, I already bought a turkey the size of a small car," Marcus replied with a grin. They spent Thanksgiving morning cooking together, Marcus, Jamie, and Maria, who insisted on helping despite Marcus's protests. The kitchen filled with warmth and laughter and delicious smells. Louis's kids ran through the house marveling at how big it was. The grandmother sat in the living room watching football and offering commentary in rapid Spanish. When they finally sat down to eat, the table was overflowing. Turkey and stuffing, mashed potatoes and gravy, green beans and corn, rolls and cranberry sauce, 3 different pies. Marcus raised his glass. "I'm grateful for all of you," he said simply. "For the work you do, the friendship you offer, the family you've become. Thank you for being here." Jamie felt tears prick his eyes. This warmth, this belonging, this sense of family was something he'd never experienced in his own house growing up. His father's Thanksgivings had been tense affairs full of criticism and disappointment. This was different. This was what family was supposed to feel like. After dinner, after the guests had gone home full and happy, Jamie helped Marcus clean up. They worked side by side at the sink, Marcus washing and Jamie drying, the comfortable silence of people who'd learned each other's rhythms. "Thank you," Jamie said quietly. "For what?" "For all of this, he gestured vaguely. "For making me feel like I belong somewhere." Marcus set down the dish he was washing and turned to face Jamie. "You do belong here. This is your home for as long as you want it to be." The intensity in his eyes made Jamie's breath catch. For a moment something passed between them, something charged and fragile, then Marcus turned back to the dishes and the moment passed. But Jamie felt it linger in the air between them, unspoken and complicated. December brought snow. The farm transformed into a winter wonderland, white fields stretching to the horizon, icicles hanging from the barn eaves, the horses' breath creating clouds in the cold air. School let out for winter break and Jamie spent his days working alongside Marcus and the ranch hands. His ribs had fully healed by now and he could do more physical labor. Marcus taught him to ride properly, starting him on Cinnamon, the gentlest mare. The first time Jamie managed to trot without bouncing awkwardly in the saddle, Marcus let out a whoop of celebration that made Jamie laugh so hard he nearly fell off. They rode together most mornings when weather permitted, exploring the far corners of the property. Marcus showed him the creek that ran through the eastern section, frozen now but beautiful in summer. The old oak tree where Thomas Whitfield had proposed to his wife 40 years ago. The hill that gave the best view of sunset over the fields. It was on one of these rides that Marcus opened up about his past. They'd stopped at the hilltop, letting the horses graze while they sat in companionable silence. "Can I ask you something?" Jamie said, breaking the quiet. "Anything. After what happened to you in Austin, how did you move past it, the fear, the anger, all of it?" Marcus was quiet for a long time, his eyes distant. "Honestly, I didn't move past it so much as learn to carry it differently," he said finally. "For years I was angry. At my family for abandoning me, at the men who beat me, at the world for being cruel." He paused. "But Thomas taught me that holding on to anger is like drinking poison and expecting the other person to die. It only hurts you. So you just forgave them." "No," Marcus's voice was firm. "Forgiveness isn't about them. It's about freeing yourself from being defined by their actions. I didn't forgive them for their sake. I forgave them for mine so I could move forward without that weight on my back." He turned to look at Jamie, his expression gentle. "You're going to be angry, Jamie. That's normal and healthy. Those boys hurt you. Your family failed you. You have every right to feel what you feel." He reached over and squeezed Jamie's shoulder. "But don't let that anger consume you. Don't let their hatred define your life. You're worth so much more than that." Jamie's throat tightened with emotion. "I don't know how to do that." "You do it one day at a time. You build a life that proves them wrong. You find people who see your worth. You let yourself be happy despite what they try to take from you." Marcus smiled. "You're already doing it, actually. Every day you get up, go to school, work hard, laugh with your friends. That's you choosing life over bitterness. That's you being stronger than they'll ever be." The words settled into Jamie's chest, warm and true. They rode back to the barn in silence, but it was a comfortable silence, full of understanding. Jamie's 18th birthday fell on a Friday. He'd mentioned it casually to Marcus a few days before, not expecting anything special. But when he woke up that morning, he found the kitchen decorated with balloons and streamers. Marcus stood at the stove, making pancakes shaped like horses. "Happy birthday," Marcus said with a huge grin. Jamie laughed, delighted and embarrassed and happy. They had breakfast together, Marcus presenting him with a stack of pancakes that were more enthusiasm than skill but absolutely perfect. "I have something for you," Marcus said, sliding a wrapped box across the table. Jamie opened it carefully. Inside was a beautiful leather journal, the cover tooled with an intricate design of horses and wheat fields. "For your thoughts," Marcus said softly. "Everyone needs a safe place to put the things they can't say out loud. To process, to dream, to figure things out." Jamie ran his fingers over the smooth leather, overwhelmed. Thank you, this is perfect. There's more. Marcus looked suddenly nervous. Tonight, if you want, we're having a small party. Just Lewis's family, your friends from school if you want to invite them, and a few people from town I trust. Nothing big, but I thought you deserved a real birthday celebration. Tears sprang to Jamie's eyes. His 18th birthday, legally an adult, and for the first time in his life someone actually cared enough to celebrate with him. I'd love that, he managed to say. That evening the house filled with people and laughter. Zoe, Marcus from school, Chen and River showed up with ridiculous gag gifts and genuine affection. Lewis's family brought homemade tamales. A few of Marcus's friends from town, business owners who'd known him for years, came with bottles of wine and congratulations. There was a cake, chocolate with buttercream frosting, Jamie's favorite. There were candles and terrible singing and genuine warmth. Marcus gave a toast. To Jamie, who's one of the bravest, hardest-working, kindest people I've ever met. May this year bring you everything you deserve, happiness, success, and the knowledge that you're valued exactly as you are. Everyone raised their glasses, and Jamie felt loved in a way he'd never experienced. Late that night, after everyone had gone home and they were cleaning up together, Jamie paused in the middle of putting away dishes. Marcus, yeah, thank you for all of this, for everything you've done for me. I don't know how I'll ever repay you. Marcus set down the dish towel and turned to face him fully. You don't owe me anything, Jamie. This, you being here, being safe, being happy, that's all the repayment I need. They stood in the warm kitchen, the space between them charged with something unspoken. Jamie's heart raced. He was 18 now, an adult, but Marcus had taken him in when he was 17, vulnerable and broken. Any feelings Jamie had were probably just gratitude, just confused emotions born from trauma and rescue. Weren't they? Marcus seemed to sense the shift in energy. He took a small step back, creating distance. You should get some rest, he said gently. Big day tomorrow, we're starting to train that new colt and I want you there to help. The moment broke. Jamie nodded, swallowing his disappointment, and headed to his room. That night, alone in the darkness, he opened the leather journal and wrote his first entry. I think I'm falling in love with him. I think I've been falling since the night he found me by the river, and I don't know what to do about it. Winter gave way to early spring slowly, as if reluctant to let go. Jamie finished his first semester at Ridgeway High with straight A's. His teachers praised his work ethic. His friends became a solid support system, and at the farm he'd become indispensable. I don't know how I managed without you, Marcus said one afternoon as they worked together to repair a fence line. You've got a real gift for this work. Jamie glowed under the praise. He'd put on healthy weight over the past months, good food and hard work building muscle where there had been only teenage lankiness. His bruises had long since faded. The nightmares came less frequently now. He was healing inside and out. But the feelings for Marcus only grew stronger. Every shared morning, every quiet evening, every accidental touch. Every time Marcus smiled at him with those warm eyes, Jamie was falling deeper and he didn't know how to stop. He tried to be careful to hide it, but apparently he wasn't as subtle as he thought. One day Zoe cornered him at lunch. Okay, spill, she demanded. Spill what? Don't play dumb, you've got that look. What look? The I'm hopelessly in love but trying to pretend I'm not look. She grinned. Who is he? Jamie's face flamed. I don't know what you're talking about. Is it someone at school, that guy from your history class who keeps looking at you? Or wait, her eyes widened. Is it someone from the farm? Zoe, oh my God, it's Marcus, isn't it? Your boss Marcus. Jamie wanted to deny it, but the words stuck in his throat. Zoe's expression softened. Honey, that's complicated. I know. Jamie put his head in his hands. I know it's stupid. He's 14 years older than me. He took me in when I had nothing. He's been nothing but kind and generous, and I'm repaying that by developing feelings I have no right to have. Hey, Zoe rubbed his back. Feelings aren't something you choose, they just happen, but what are you going to do about it? Nothing, absolutely nothing. I'm going to keep my mouth shut, finish school, and try to get over it. That doesn't sound sustainable. It's all I've got, but keeping feelings secret was harder than Jamie anticipated, especially when Marcus started acting different. Little things at first. He'd catch Marcus watching him with an expression Jamie couldn't quite read. Marcus would start to say something, then stop himself. The comfortable physical ease they developed, casual touches, shoulders bumping, hands on arms for emphasis, became charged with tension. One evening they were watching a movie on the couch, a comfortable 2 feet of space between them. The movie was some action thriller, explosions and car chases, but Jamie couldn't focus. He was hyper-aware of Marcus beside him, the warmth of his body, the sound of his breathing, the way his hand rested on the couch cushion between them. The movie ended. Neither of them moved to turn on the lights or start another one. They sat in the blue-dark glow of the TV screen, tension thick in the air. Jamie, Marcus said quietly, yeah, I need to tell you something, but I don't want you to feel uncomfortable or obligated in any way. If what I'm about to say makes you want to leave, I'll help you find another place. I'll pay for college. Marcus, you're scaring me. Marcus turned to face him, and in the dim light, his expression was vulnerable in a way Jamie had never seen. "I've been trying not to feel this way," Marcus said, his voice rough. "I've been telling myself it's wrong, that you're too young, that I found you when you were vulnerable, and any feelings you might think you have are just gratitude or trauma bonding or—" "Marcus, let me finish, please." Marcus took a shaky breath. "But the truth is, I care about you more than I should, more than is probably appropriate given our situation, and I need you to know that so you can make an informed decision about whether you want to stay here." Jamie's heart was racing so fast he thought it might burst. "What are you saying?" "I'm saying," Marcus looked away, jaw clenched. "I'm saying that somewhere along the way I stopped thinking of you as just someone I was helping. You make me laugh, you challenge me, you really see me in a way no one else does. And I know I'm too old for you, I know the power dynamic is all wrong, I know. I'm in love with you." The words burst out of Jamie before he could stop them. Marcus's head snapped up, eyes wide. "What?" "I'm in love with you," Jamie repeated, his voice shaking but sure. "I have been for months, since— God, probably since that first morning when you made me breakfast and treated me like I mattered. Since every single time you've been kind and patient and made me feel safe. Since every ride, every dinner, every quiet moment together. Jamie, you don't tell me what I feel." Jamie shifted closer, courage flooding through him. "I know the difference between gratitude and love. Yes, I'm grateful, eternally grateful for everything you've done. But that's not why I love you. I love you because you're good and kind and funny. Because you talk to your horses like they're people. Because you care about doing the right thing even when it's hard. Because when you smile at me, my whole world lights up." Marcus's eyes were bright with unshed tears. "You're 18, I'm 32. So there's a power imbalance. You live in my house, work for me. Then I'll move out, I'll find another job, I'll do whatever it takes to make this equal, to make this right." Jamie reached for Marcus's hand, threading their fingers together. "But don't push me away because you're scared. Don't tell me what we feel is wrong when it's the most right thing I've ever experienced." Marcus looked down at their joined hands, his thumb unconsciously stroking across Jamie's knuckles. "I don't want to hurt you," he whispered. "Then don't stay, be with me, let us figure this out together. The town will talk, let them, I don't care what they think. Your friends might not understand. The ones who matter will." Marcus finally met his eyes, and the naked vulnerability there made Jamie's breath catch. "I'm terrified," Marcus admitted. "Me too," Jamie smiled. "But I'm more terrified of not trying, of walking away and spending the rest of my life wondering what if." They sat in the darkness, hands joined, the rest of the world falling away. Finally, Marcus raised his free hand to cup Jamie's face, his touch impossibly gentle. "You're sure?" he asked. "Absolutely sure this is what you want?" "I've never been more sure of anything in my life." Marcus leaned forward slowly, giving Jamie every opportunity to pull away. Jamie didn't. Their lips met in a kiss that was soft, tentative, perfect. Marcus kissed like he did everything else, with care, with attention, with a gentleness that made Jamie's heart ache. When they pulled apart, Marcus rested his forehead against Jamie's. "We take this slow," he said quietly. "We communicate about everything, and if at any point you feel uncomfortable or want to stop—" "I won't," Jamie interrupted. "But if you do, you tell me, promise me." "I promise." They sat together on the couch, holding each other as the night deepened around them. And for the first time since that awful night by the river, Jamie felt complete. They kept their relationship quiet at first, not from shame but from a desire to protect what they were building from outside judgment and interference. At the farm, around the ranch hands, they were boss and employee. In public, they were careful to maintain appropriate distance. But in private, in the house they now truly shared, they were something else entirely. They were partners, learning each other's bodies slowly, respectfully, learning each other's hearts even more carefully. Marcus was attentive and patient, always checking in, always making sure Jamie was comfortable. They talked about everything: boundaries, desires, fears, hopes. "I've never done this before," Jamie admitted one night as they lay together on the couch, Jamie's head on Marcus's chest. "Been in a real relationship, I mean, I don't know the rules." "There are no rules except the ones we make together," Marcus said, his fingers running through Jamie's hair. "We communicate, we respect each other. We build something that works for us, not what other people think a relationship should look like." They established routines that were theirs alone. Coffee together at dawn, now with soft kisses and gentle touches. Dinner together every evening, talking about their days, their dreams, their plans. Riding together on weekend mornings, exploring the property, stealing kisses in the far fields where no one could see. Movie nights that often ended with them tangled together, more interested in each other than whatever was on screen. Jamie finished his senior year with honors. His friends from school gradually learned about his relationship with Marcus, and to Jamie's relief, they were supportive. "As long as he treats you well and makes you happy," Zoe said, "I'm on board. But if he ever hurts you, I know where he lives." Marcus laughed when Jamie told him, "I like her." Louis and Maria found out when they unexpectedly stopped by one evening and found Jamie and Marcus cooking dinner together, moving around each other with the easy intimacy of a couple. There was a moment of surprise, then Maria smiled warmly. It's about time, she said. Louis and I have been wondering when you two would figure it out. You knew, Jamie asked, surprised. Mijo, the way you look at each other, everyone knew except you two. She hugged them both. We're happy for you, you're good together. Spring transformed into summer and the farm was busy with growing season. Jamie worked alongside Marcus and the ranch hands, learning more each day, becoming truly skilled at farm management. He'd grown into himself over the months, physically stronger, emotionally healthier, more confident. The scared, broken boy Marcus had found by the river was gone, replaced by a young man who knew his worth. And Marcus had never been happier. Having Jamie by his side as partner in both work and life filled a loneliness he hadn't fully acknowledged until it was gone. One evening in late June, they rode out to the hilltop that offered the best sunset view. They brought a picnic, sandwiches and fruit, and the lemon bars Marcus had learned to make because they were Jamie's favorite. They ate as the sun painted the sky in brilliant oranges and pinks, the horses grazing nearby. I've been thinking, Marcus said, setting aside his food. Dangerous, Jamie teased, echoing a joke that had become familiar between them. Marcus smiled. Smartass, I've been thinking about the future, about expanding the farm, maybe getting into sustainable agriculture, organic certification. It's a lot of work, but I think it could be good for the business. That sounds amazing. The thing is. Marcus paused, suddenly nervous. I'd need a partner to help run it, someone who knows the land, knows the animals, knows the vision, someone I trust completely. Jamie's heart began to race. What are you saying? Marcus turned to face him fully, his expression serious and hopeful. I'm saying that when you graduate college, because you're going, I'm insisting on that and I'll pay for it. I want to make you a full partner in Reed Family Farms. Equal ownership, equal say in all decisions. Building this together for real. Tears sprang to Jamie's eyes. Marcus, you don't have to answer now, think about it. But I want you to know that's what I want you here with me, building a life, building a future. Jamie didn't need to think about it. He launched himself at Marcus, kissing him deeply, pouring all his love and gratitude and joy into the kiss. When they pulled apart, both breathless and laughing, Jamie said yes to all of it, yes. Marcus's smile could have lit the entire farm. They lay back on the blanket, watching stars appear in the darkening sky, their hands linked. I love you, Marcus said quietly. I love you too. And in that moment, with the farm spread out below them and the stars overhead, everything was perfect. But life, as it always does, provided challenges. In July, Jamie got a message from his father. They hadn't spoken since Marcus had collected his things back in November. Jamie stared at the text message, his heart pounding. We need to talk, important, meet me at the diner tomorrow at 2 p.m. He showed it to Marcus that evening, Marcus's jaw tight. You don't have to go. You don't owe him anything. I know, but maybe it's closure, maybe he wants to apologize. Or maybe he wants to hurt you more. Marcus took Jamie's hand. If you want to go, I'll come with you. You don't have to face him alone. He won't talk if you're there. Then I'll wait in the truck, but I'm not letting you go alone. The next day, Marcus drove Jamie to the diner in Clearwater, the town Jamie hadn't been back to since the night he was beat. Everything looked exactly the same, and that made it worse somehow. Marcus parked across the street, his expression grim. I'll be right here if you need me. If anything feels wrong, you come get me. Understand? Jamie nodded, kissed him quickly, and got out. His father was already in a booth, looking older than Jamie remembered. Grayer, harder, Jamie slid into the seat across from him, his hands clenched in his lap. They stared at each other for a long moment. You look good, his father said finally. Healthy. I am. I heard you're living with Marcus Reed, working on his farm. Yeah, another silence. Are you? His father's jaw worked. Are you still gay? I was never not gay, Dad. That's not how this works. His father looked away. I wanted to see if maybe being away from that friend of yours, from that environment, might have fixed things. Anger flared in Jamie's chest. I'm not broken. There's nothing to fix. The Bible says, I don't care what the Bible says. Jamie's voice rose and other diners looked over. He lowered it, shaking. You threw me out. You told me I was wrong for being who I am. You chose your judgment over your own son. I chose righteousness. You chose hate. Jamie stood, suddenly done with this conversation. I came here thinking maybe you wanted to apologize, to make amends, but you just want to tell me I'm still wrong. Well, guess what? I'm happy, I'm successful, I'm loved. I don't need your approval to know I'm worthy of all of it. He started to walk away, but his father's voice stopped him. I saw you last week with him, Marcus Reed. Jamie turned slowly. You were kissing him in the parking lot of the feed store. Ice flooded Jamie's veins. So, he said, forcing his voice to stay steady. So he's taking advantage of you. You're barely 18. He's what, in his 30s, and he's your boss. That's not love, son. That's predation. The words hit like physical blows. You don't know anything about us. I know men like him. They find vulnerable kids and they use them. His father leaned forward. Come home, leave him. We can get you help, real help, therapy to fix what's wrong. Nothing is wrong with me. Jamie was shaking with rage now. Marcus is the best thing that's ever happened to me. He saved my life when you threw me away. He's kind and loving and treats me like I matter. And yes, we're together and I love him. That is none of your goddamn business. He stormed out of the diner, his father calling after him. Marcus was out of the truck before Jamie reached it, his face concerned. "What happened? Drive, please, just drive." Marcus obeyed, pulling out of the parking lot and heading back toward the farm. Jamie told him everything, his voice breaking. "He saw us, he knows about us, and he thinks he said you're taking advantage of me." Marcus's knuckles went white on the steering wheel. "Do you believe that?" "What? No, of course not. Are you sure? Because if there's even a part of you that thinks—" "Marcus, stop." Jamie reached over and took his hand. "I love you, you're not taking advantage of me. You've never pressured me, never pushed me, never made me feel like I owed you anything. What we have is real and equal and good." Marcus pulled over to the side of the road and turned to face Jamie. "I need you to understand something. If people start talking, if your father starts spreading rumors, this could get ugly. For both of us, but especially for me. I could lose business, I could face legal trouble if he decides to make accusations. He wouldn't, he might, if he believes he's saving you." Marcus's expression was pained. "I need to know you're prepared for that possibility, that if things get hard you won't regret this, regret us." Jamie unbuckled his seatbelt and moved as close as he could in the truck cab. "I will never regret us, never. I don't care what my father says or what anyone thinks. You're mine and I'm yours, and that's all that matters." Marcus pulled him into a fierce embrace. "I love you so much," he whispered. "I love you too, and we're going to get through this together." Jamie's father did exactly what Marcus feared. He started talking. Within a week, rumors were spreading through Clearwater. Marcus Reed was taking advantage of a vulnerable teenager. He'd groomed the boy, manipulated him. Someone should report him to the police. Marcus's lawyer assured them there was no legal case. Jamie was 18, the relationship had begun when he was already an adult, and there was no evidence of coercion or manipulation. But the court of public opinion was less forgiving. Some of Marcus's business relationships became strained. A few restaurants stopped ordering his beef. Whispers followed them whenever they went to town, but others rallied around them. Lewis and the ranch hands formed a protective wall, making it clear where their loyalty lay. The friends Marcus had built over 12 years of honest business and community contributions stood firm. Zoe and Jamie's friends from school started a social media campaign defending their relationship, posting about the reality of their love versus the rumors. Marcus's friends from the LGBTQ+ community in nearby Austin came out in force, writing letters to the editor, showing up to town council meetings, making noise. "We're not going to let this town's prejudice destroy what you've built," said David, one of Marcus's oldest friends. "You fought too hard for that." The controversy reached its peak at a town council meeting in August. Jamie's father had gotten himself added to the agenda, planning to speak about protecting vulnerable youth from predators. Marcus and Jamie decided to attend. "We don't have to go," Marcus said that morning. "We could ignore him, let it blow over." "No," Jamie's voice was firm. "I'm done hiding, I'm done letting people speak for me. It's time they heard the truth." The council chambers were packed. Jamie's father sat in the front row, surrounded by members of his church. But the back rows were filled with Marcus and Jamie's supporters, ranch hands, friends, LGBTQ+ activists, business owners who valued Marcus's contributions. When it was time for public comments, Jamie's father stood. He spoke for 5 minutes about morality, about protecting children, about how Marcus Reed was a danger to the community. His words were polished, persuasive, and they made Jamie's blood boil. When his father finished, there was a smattering of applause from his church group. The council chairman asked if anyone else wished to speak on the matter. Jamie stood. Marcus grabbed his hand, eyes wide. "Jamie, I need to do this." He walked to the microphone, his legs shaking but his resolve firm. "My name is Jamie Holloway," he began, his voice carrying through the chambers. "And the man who just spoke is my father. He told you a story about a vulnerable teenager being manipulated by a predator. I'm here to tell you the truth." He told them everything, about being beaten and left by the river, about Marcus finding him and saving his life, about being given a home when his own family threw him away, about learning to heal, to work, to hope again. And about falling in love, real, adult, consensual love with a man who saw his worth when no one else did. "My father talks about protecting vulnerable youth," Jamie said, his voice steady despite the tears streaming down his face. "But where was he when I was vulnerable? Where was he when I needed protection? He kicked me out. He told me I was wrong for being gay. He chose his prejudice over his own son." He turned to look directly at his father. "Marcus Reed saved my life. He gave me hope when I had none. He treated me with kindness and respect. And yes, we fell in love, but that love is based on equality, on mutual respect, on genuine connection, not manipulation, not predation, just two people who found each other in darkness and chose each other in light." Jamie turned back to the council. "So if you want to judge our relationship based on rumor and prejudice, go ahead, but you should know what you're really judging. You're judging love. Real, honest love. And that says more about you than it ever will about us." He walked back to his seat, his whole body shaking. Marcus pulled him into his arms, holding him tight. The chambers erupted. Some people applauded, some sat in stunned silence. Jamie's father looked stricken, pale. One by one, people stood to speak in support of Marcus and Jamie. Lewis talked about Marcus's character, his integrity, his fairness as an employer. Maria spoke about watching Jamie heal and thrive under Marcus's care. Zoe gave an impassioned speech about accepting love in all its forms. David talked about knowing Marcus for years and vouching for his character completely. Even some townspeople who barely knew them stood to defend them, citing Marcus's contributions to the community, his reputation, his kindness. By the end, it was clear which way the tide had turned. The council chairman cleared his throat. "Thank you all for your input. I think it's safe to say that this matter is between the individuals involved and is not a concern for this council. Mr. Holloway, your time is up." Jamie's father left the chambers without another word. Jamie never spoke to him again. The controversy gradually died down. Some people never accepted their relationship, but most came around or at least learned to keep their opinions to themselves. The farm continued to thrive. Jamie enrolled at Texas A&M, majoring in agricultural science and business management. He commuted daily, unwilling to live on campus when home was so much better. Marcus supported his education completely, proud of every achievement. "You're going to make this farm even better than I ever could," Marcus said one night as Jamie studied financial reports for class. "We'll make it better together," Jamie corrected. True to his word, when Jamie graduated 4 years later with honors, Marcus made him a full partner in Reed Family Farms. They signed the papers in the same lawyer's office where Marcus had once signed his purchase agreement with Thomas Whitfield. "Thomas would be proud," the lawyer said, shaking both their hands. "You're carrying on his legacy beautifully." That evening they celebrated at the hilltop where Marcus had first proposed the partnership. But this time, Marcus had brought something else. He got down on one knee, pulling a small box from his pocket. "Jamie Holloway, you came into my life as a scared kid who needed help. You've become the strongest, smartest, most amazing man I've ever known. You're my partner in every sense of the word, and I want to make it official in one more way." He opened the box, revealing 2 simple platinum bands. "Will you marry me?" Jamie was crying too hard to speak. He nodded frantically, pulling Marcus up and kissing him deeply. "Yes," he finally managed. "Yes, yes, 1,000 times yes." They married that fall in a small ceremony on the farm. Just close friends, loyal employees, and the family they'd chosen. Sarah cried through the entire ceremony. Zoe was the maid of honor and made a speech that had everyone laughing and crying. Lewis walked Jamie down the aisle since his biological father had made his absence clear. "I'm honored, Mijo," Lewis had said when Jamie asked him. Truly honored. Marcus wore his best suit. Jamie wore his with boots that Marcus had custom-made for the occasion. And when they exchanged vows, promising to love, support, challenge, and cherish each other, there wasn't a dry eye in the audience. "You saved me," Jamie said, his vows memorized and heartfelt. "But more than that, you showed me what love is supposed to look like. You taught me that I deserve happiness, that being gay isn't something to hide or fix, that I have worth exactly as I am. You gave me a home and a future, and now I get to spend the rest of my life showing you the same love you've always shown me." Marcus was openly crying by the time Jamie finished. His own vows were simple but perfect. "Jamie, you came into my life and reminded me why I built all of this, not for success or recognition, but to create a safe place for love to grow. You're my home, you're my heart, and I promise to spend every day proving that you made the right choice in choosing me." When they kissed as husbands, the applause was thunderous. 5 years into their marriage, Reed Holloway Farms, as they renamed it, was one of the most successful and innovative agricultural operations in Texas. They'd achieved organic certification. They'd expanded into sustainable practices that other farms studied and replicated. They'd created a scholarship fund for LGBTQ plus youth pursuing agricultural degrees. And they'd started a program that offered jobs and housing to young people who'd been rejected by their families for being queer. "Paying it forward," Marcus called it. "Like Thomas did for me." They'd helped 7 kids so far, giving them work, a safe place to live, and proof that being gay didn't mean giving up on your dreams. Jamie had become a recognized expert in sustainable agriculture, speaking at conferences, writing articles, consulting with other farms. Marcus focused on the breeding program, producing some of the finest quarter horses in the state. Together, they were unstoppable. One autumn evening they sat on the porch of their home, the same house where Marcus had brought a broken, scared Jamie 7 years ago. "Do you ever think about that night?" Jamie asked, his head resting on Marcus's shoulder. "By the river, sometimes." Marcus's arm tightened around him. "I think about how close we came to never meeting, if I'd taken Highway 12 like usual, if I'd been 5 minutes later, if I'd driven past without seeing you. But you didn't." "No, I didn't." Marcus kissed the top of his head. "Best decision I ever made, stopping that night. I used to think that night was the worst thing that ever happened to me," Jamie said quietly. The beating, the pain, the fear, but now I realize it led me here, to you, to this life, and I wouldn't change it. You shouldn't have had to go through that pain to get here. No, but I did, and it made me who I am. Jamie sat up, turning to face Marcus. That scared kid by the river grew into someone strong enough to stand up to his father, to build a business, to fight for what he believes in. And that's partly because of what I survived. Marcus cupped his face gently. You were always strong, I just gave you a safe place to remember that. They kissed soft and slow, the evening crickets providing soundtrack. Inside, their home was filled with the life they'd built, photographs covering the walls, documenting their journey from that first winter to now. Jamie's college degrees framed beside Marcus's business awards. The guest room they still kept ready for any kid who might need it. The library they'd built together, filled with books on farming and business and queer history and everything in between. The kitchen where they cooked together most nights. The bedroom they shared, their sanctuary. It was perfect, not perfect in the sense of flawless or easy. They'd had challenges, arguments, tough business decisions, moments of doubt. But perfect in the sense that it was theirs, built on love and trust and mutual respect, built on two people choosing each other every single day. 10 years after Marcus found Jamie by the river, they returned to that spot together. It had become a tradition. Every November, on the anniversary of the night they met, they came here. They brought flowers, which they tossed in tow for the boy I was, Jamie explained when they'd started the tradition. And for all the kids who aren't as lucky as I was. This year they'd brought something else. A plaque. They got permission from the county to install it near the bridge, a small memorial. It read, "In memory of all those harmed by hate, may we build a world where everyone is safe to be themselves. Love always wins." They installed it together, working in comfortable silence. When it was secure, they stood back and read it. "Thomas would approve," Marcus said softly. "I wish I could have met him. He would have loved you, probably would have adopted you on the spot." Jamie laughed. "Like you did. Hey, I waited a whole 3 months before I fell in love with you. That's restraint." They sat on the bridge railing, watching the river flow beneath them. "Thank you," Jamie said suddenly. "For what? For stopping, for seeing me, for giving me a chance when you had every reason not to." Marcus took his hand, threading their fingers together. "Thank you for being brave enough to stay, to heal, to love me back." "I never had a choice about that last part," Jamie said with a smile. "Loving you was inevitable." The sun was setting, painting the sky in brilliant colors. The same river that had nearly been Jamie's grave had become a symbol of his rebirth, of the life he'd built from nothing, of the love he'd found in the darkest moment. "Do you think we'll ever tell the whole story?" Jamie asked. "Publish it somewhere, let other kids know they can survive this?" "Maybe," Marcus considered. "If it helps even one person hold on, keep fighting, believe they deserve better, then yes. We should tell it." "Then we will." Jamie squeezed his hand. "Our story, beginning to end, the truth of what happened and what we built from it." "Beginning to end?" Marcus raised an eyebrow. "This isn't the end, we're just getting started," Jamie grinned. "True, we've got at least 50 more years together. At least." Marcus pulled him close. "I'm planning on forever." Forever sounds perfect. As they drove back to the farm, their home, their legacy, Jamie looked out at the fields they'd cultivated, the business they'd built, the life they'd created together. 10 years ago, he'd been dying by a river, convinced his life was over. Now he was living a life beyond his wildest dreams, not because it was easy or perfect, but because he'd found someone who saw his worth when he couldn't see it himself, someone who gave him space to heal and grow, someone who loved him exactly as he was, and together they'd built something beautiful, something that honored the pain of the past while embracing the hope of the future. Something that proved without a doubt that love, real, honest, brave love, could transform everything. Should their story continue? Comment part 2 if you want more. Red like if this made your heart race. Subscribe for weekly gay romance stories. They beat an excluded gay teen and left him by the river. What the millionaire farmer did next changed everything. Is a heartfelt LGBTQ plus love story about resilience, healing, and finding home in unexpected places. This emotional gay romance follows Jamie and Marcus as they overcome trauma, prejudice, and doubt to build a life filled with love, purpose, and hope. Their journey proves that sometimes the darkest moments lead to the brightest beginnings, and that true love can transform everything. This is a story about second chances, chosen family, and the courage it takes to be authentically yourself. It's about healing journeys and the power of one person choosing to stop and help another. Most of all, it's about love, the kind that sees you at your worst and helps you become your best.